Hi, thanks for joining me. So today I want to do a video, a vlog mostly, and it's going to be a little bit of a general vlog. You can see from the title probably what I'll mostly be talking about, and nothing to do with my last vlog. I apologize about that, but sometimes you just gotta get something out, and you gotta be really clear where you stand on a situation and an issue. So yeah, now that I've done that, I feel good. I feel like I can move on and just talk about some fun stuff. So I want to go over my Japanese PlayStation 3 collection a little bit again. Mostly just because, this time of year, for whatever reason, I'm going through my collection, just kind of, paring things down a little bit, trying to figure out exactly like where I stand with some of this stuff. And I'm realizing like this channel is about Japanese video games, ostensibly. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about mostly when I started it. And I love anime and I love other stuff like that, so there's always going to be a mixture of things here. But in order to talk about Japanese video games, you need to play them. And I kind of miss playing games in Japanese language. So I want to get back into that a little bit more. Before I dive right into that, though, I do want to just show off a pickup, I guess, just because this is something that's kind of cool that I'm getting into again right now. Well, not again, really. This is Age of Sigmar. So this is essentially Warhammer Fantasy Battle, the updated version. So for you who don't know, Warhammer is a tabletop miniatures war game, and it's basically, there've been two flavors for like 30 years or something. Warhammer 40,000 is a science fiction version, and it has a really cool world, really cool setup, and then there's sort of like a flip mirror version of it that's been the fantasy version. And just a couple of years ago, they decided to really shake things up. I guess Warhammer 40k has been doing pretty good, but Warhammer Fantasy, they decided to want to just kind of scrap it, start over from scratch, redo the rules, bring a lot of the old models in, but bring a whole bunch of new models in and stuff. So this is a really cool start collecting set. This came out fairly recently. It's not like, it didn't just come out. But Demons of Slanesh, there are 4 Chaos Gods. I won't really get into them, but in the lore for Warhammer 40k and Fantasy, and it seemed like maybe they were kind of really downplaying Slanesh, especially in Age of Sigmar. And I didn't really think they were going to do like a start collecting box for it, but they did. And since they did, I was kind of like, I've been looking at Age of Sigmar, I've been reading up on the rules, I've been watching a lot of battle reports, as they call them, on YouTube, and it looks really fun. It's something I've enjoyed since I was like 15, 16 years old. My buddies got into playing like Space Hulk and stuff like that, and we're getting back into it. I talked about Deathwatch Overkill and that kind of thing, so I'm really excited to have picked this up. I'm probably going to be starting to put those together here really soon, but I also have like a bunch of other stuff to ping in. So anyway, excited about that. Let me know if you guys play those games at all, or if you have any questions. Once I actually start playing Age of Sigmar, I'll know a little bit more. So my Japanese PlayStation 3 collection. I've probably showed this off before in my PlayStation 3 collection video, but I just wanted to go through each of these games individually really briefly and just sort of retake stock of where I am with them. The first one, of course, is 428. This is something Sareta Shibuya De. So I think sometimes this is called Shibuya 428. And it's a sound novel by Chunsoft. Classically the makers of the most popular game in Japan, Dragon Quest. But they've done a lot of what we would probably more usually call visual novels, but they call them sound novels. They have audio and video and visuals, so whichever one you want to pick, I guess. And it's kind of a successor, like a spiritual successor to Machi, which just means like town or city. That was released, I believe, on the PlayStation 1. It's just like a cool visual novel, a lot of obviously like photographic assets and things like that. Now, I did start playing this, and I think that the Japanese was just a little tough for me. It kind of makes sense. I usually find it easier to play games for kids, sometimes easier to play just like romantic adventure games and things of that sort. I think the Japanese is just a little easier to follow. This I think I just struggled with a little bit. So I don't know. This is the kind of thing I'd like to keep around and play maybe just when my Japanese is a little bit better. So who knows? That's where I am with that. Next up is Boku no Natsuyasumi 3, which is my summer vacation. You play a boy on his summer vacation. Back before there was cell phones, before there was computers, before video game systems, and ironically playing a video game about this. But you get to go out and like collect bugs and go swimming and play bug sumo, and you just do a whole bunch of cool stuff. And it's super fun. There's versions of this on like the PSP and the PlayStation 1 and 2. I don't know if there's a PS4 version of this. That would be pretty cool. But I've played this game from start to finish. It was a lot easier for me to get into. I've made videos about this too way back. If you go check out some of my earliest videos were actually about this game. I do some tips on how to play and what the menus say and all that kind of stuff. So that's a really cool game. I've gotten my enjoyment out of it, and I really like having it. Next up is Khaladrios Blaze. Now this is one that I'm happy to have gotten. I got this just on a whim. It turns out to have been just a really fun game. It was a fairly safe bet. This is developed by Moss, and they've sort of taken the reins on the Raiden series. I really like the Raiden series in terms of shoot 'em ups, and this is no exception. It plays a little bit more like a boss rush. There actually is a boss rush mode, but I think the bosses are sort of the highlight of the game. But this, of course, actually started off on the Xbox 360, and then this is a PlayStation 3 port, and then it actually was ported to PlayStation 4 and came out here in the US. So yeah, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to play this a little bit before it came out. Just kind of get a little bit of a heads up on that, and it's a fun game. I really like it. Next up is Dunamis 15. Now this is a game that you can see maybe is still in the wrapper, so I've not played it, and that's one of those things I'd kind of like to fix. So as I go through these, especially some of these that I'm like, well, I haven't really played this, and if there's any in particular that you guys are especially interested in me playing next, kind of a thing, let me know. I'm really bad about taking requests, I guess, but suffice to say, I got this because from what I know, it's written by the same people that did like Chaos Head and Steins Gate, and being a big fan of Steins Gate at least, and Chaos Head I think just actually came out on the Vita here. Might have been the Vita, maybe the PlayStation 4, I sort of forget, but I believe that's been localized now. I've really been wanting to play this game. Don't know what level of Japanese it's going to be, how much I'm going to be able to get into it, but it looks like a thriller. It looks really cool. Next is Hakuna Matata. Now this actually isn't a Japanese import. Possibly, I don't know if I really should have put it on here, but this is an Asian version. And I imported this back when the PlayStation 3 was new. Now, I actually had an Xbox 360, and I had a Red Ring of Death on that. And that sort of converted me from a 360 owner to a PlayStation 3 owner fairly early in that whole generation. So I was able to kind of get in on the ground floor on some of the stuff that I think other people really just caught up on much, much later for the PlayStation 3. And this was one of those games. This actually got a localization here as Africa. And I forgot to grab it off my shelf, but it was one of those games that you feel like you got a really good deal on, because it's really hard to run across these days. And I found it just a couple of years ago at a GameStop before they jacked their price up on it, although it had already started to go for quite a bit on eBay. I got it for like $35 or something like that. So I felt like that was a good deal, because this is a really cool game. It's a photography safari game. How cool is that? I haven't actually finished that game, so that is one that maybe I should go back to at some point and actually finish it up, because I always really enjoyed it. But I definitely got some good playtime out of it. Next up we have Initial D, Extreme Stage. Now this is one that I picked up in Japan, and I'm a little on the fence about this one. It is a little bit sought after, I think, in as far as imports go. I don't think it goes for very much though. It's like a $30 game, probably something like that. Currently, things change, but it's an arcade racer, and when it really comes down to it, I really dig simulation racers. something about, you know, the Gran Turismo whole situation just really made an impression on me, and that's kind of what I expect from my racing games, and I think that's what I really enjoy. So, you know, what I've played of this, I was kind of like, it's just not quite my thing. But something also about this, maybe because I got it in Japan, or maybe because I just haven't played as much of this as I think maybe I should, I kind of want to hang on to this, and I kind of want to play more of it. So if you guys would like to know more about this, let me know. It's maybe something that I'll play a little bit more of. Next up is Ninokuni. Now, this is a really cool version of this that I got. It's just the regular Japanese import version, but I believe... Anyway, I know this is developed by Level 5. I'm getting a little bit confused as to if this was the one that they developed on the DS originally, I think it was, and then ported. But regardless, this is the one, you know, that came with like the spell book and all that stuff. Of course, it's all in Japanese, so that's going to be probably especially hard for me to read. But I did play some of this. I played through just like the first dungeon, basically, in the first town and that sort of thing, and it was really cool. Interestingly, this came out about a year after I imported this, and you know, having played some of it, I was like, oh, well, I'll get the localized version and I'll play that, which I have, but I've just never come back to it. So Ninokuni is another one that I'd really like to play. I don't know if I'm going to play the Japanese version or the localized version. I might actually, you know, enjoy just tackling this in Japanese, just kind of getting back into that sort of a thing. Next up, we have Beaky Sol. Now, this is the other Chunsoft sound novel, and boy, do I like this game. I probably like it a little bit more than it really deserves. It's just a Japanese, like, horror movie, basically, as a visual novel, or in this case, what they call a sound novel. And it has an awful lot of different elements to it. There's a whole ton of endings. There's like some ridiculous amount of endings to this. And I probably should play this more, but I have played it start to finish, and I enjoyed my time with it. I've made a video on this way back. If you guys, you know, if you just search for Beaky Sol PlayStation 3, you'll probably run across my review of it. I think I was still having audio troubles at the time, but it's a pretty good review. And I just really liked this game. I don't really intend to go back to this and play a whole bunch more of it, I don't think. It's just the time I spent with it, I really enjoyed. I had a lot of fun with that. Next up is Ketsui. Now, this is one of those ones that partially I got it because I wanted to try out the gameplay, and partially I got it, I think, as like a collection thing, a little bit. There aren't many shoot-em-ups on the PlayStation 3, but, you know, from Japan. The Xbox 360 was kind of the shoot-em-up system, so it was pretty surprising when Mages, also known as 5PB, decided to port this game over to the PlayStation 3. Now, I also really wanted to try out some shooters by Cave, because I also didn't have a 360 at that time. Now, I've actually gotten another 360 since then, and I've gotten quite a few shoot-em-ups for it, but I had not gotten any at this time. And it's tough, because as far as like what this introduced me to in terms of Cave developed shooters, I like this, but I don't really prefer Cave's style of bullet hell shooters, I don't think. I really do prefer whatever they call it, more of like a frenetic shooter or something like that, like Moss or Psycho have developed in the past. It's just more my style, but this game actually is quite good, and I don't see myself getting rid of it. I think maybe the only reason I might get rid of it is if I'm sort of like, well, maybe it was a little bit of a collection thing, and maybe if, you know, the price has gone up and I don't really see myself coming back to it, maybe I'll just sell it. I guess I'm a little on the fence about this, but I do really enjoy it, and definitely my favorite Cave shooter. I'm glad I gave it a try. Next up, we have Megazone 2-3. Now, this is one of those games that I like way more than it deserves. There's a whole lot of nostalgia and good feelings around this, because again, this was another one of those early PlayStation 3 games that I imported back when it seemed like Japanese gaming was sort of fading away, at least in the West. That whole wave of the Xbox 360 was so strong around this time, and it's one of the reasons why I really wanted to start importing games and start playing games in Japanese language. And this just worked out so well for me. It's published by Compile Heart. I think developed by that whole, sort of Idea Factory Compile Heart combination, and it doesn't quite have that like Neptunia sort of charm to it, but it is that same sort of style of game. You've got sort of the motion I actually don't think they were even using the motion portraits at this point. It's just sort of portraits talking in like a Japanese adventure style game, and then it has like this really stripped down. I don't even know what to call it, sort of like a simulation style. Like you're just picking options from a menu in terms of like having mechs fight each other. It's based on an old anime from the 80s. There's just a bunch of nostalgia wrapped up in this. If you want to know more about it, I did make a video back in the day, so check that out. But suffice to say, I love having this. I don't think I'm going to go back and play it again, but I've definitely gotten everything I want to out of that. Next up, this is Moe Moe. Daisenso, something or other. Daisenso Gendai Ban. This is System Soft, I believe. So it's going to be a strategy game. This is like a military strategy game, but like cute anime girl style military strategy game. So totally up my alley. I still haven't taken this out of the wrapper. You guys probably remember my pickups video if you've been watching me for a while from years ago, 3 years ago or something when I picked this up. Maybe more. I'd like to check that out. Just haven't. Next up is White Knight Chronicles and Shirokishi Monogatari. This I really wanted to like. This is another level 5 game, and it's kind of a big ambitious RPG series on the PlayStation 3. And again, this was sort of coming out back when the PlayStation 3 was less of a thing. So, I think there was a lot, like, they were really trying to push something to, like, capture people's attention and to be, like, this big deal. This was published directly, by Sony Computer Entertainment, and I don't know if it really caught on. And also, just what I played of it, it seemed interesting and ambitious, but it also just like it didn't hook me, it didn't grab me. There may have also been a little bit of a language barrier, so I did, get used a copy of the localization when they finally decided to localize this game, and I still haven't got into it. I don't know. Let me know if you guys have played White Knight Chronicles, if you think I should get into it. If you have any advice as to whether I should play it in Japanese or in English. I'd like to know. I just have never gotten into that game. Next up is a game that I should play more of. This is something I also did a video on way back in the day. You guys can check that out. This is Suzumiya Haruhi no Tsuiso. Don't ask me what that is, because I don't remember, but it's in the title of my video from years ago, and it's more Suzumiya Haruhi, and I even think this takes place in an interesting alternate universe where Haruhi has sort of been dwelling for the past many years, which is the alternate universe. It's the premise for the movie, and it's the premise for mostly the movie, I guess. So this is sort of taking place in the movie universe. It's a kind of an alternate situation, kind of the same way as the new romance anime that they did for Haruhi. It was the disappearance of Nagato, Yuki Nagato, I believe. So anyway, it's just again an adventure style game, and it's fun. I've played through the first scenario for this, and that's as far as I've gotten. So I really should play more of this game, and I'd kind of like to too, because I like the Haruhi universe. So let me know if you guys would like to see more about that. It's certainly something I might play some more of. Next up, Steins Gate, Hyoku Renri no Darling, I believe, something like that. This is something that I've been trying to play. I've tried playing this probably a good 3 or 4 times, and especially it's one of those things where I figure, hey, if I'm struggling with the Japanese, maybe I just keep going, because it's a pretty linear experience, but I just struggle with it. It's tough because Steins Gate was my game of the year just last year, I think. I played the Vita version and I really loved it. I still don't have Steins Gate 0 and I'd really like to play that. But this one, I'm almost thinking that I should probably drop any pretense that I have of ever playing or finishing this game. But, again, let me know if you guys have any experience with this. What you might recommend, but I may just have to drop that one permanently. It's been really tough for me to get into. Next is Tears to Tiara. This is the first one. I'm not gonna try to read that. I might be able to, but this is a cool game in some ways. This has a lot of elements to it that I do really like. I was gonna say I should like, but I do. It's published by Aqua Plus. It has all of the must be the same character designer that worked on White Album and things like that. Really like the character designs for this. I think when this came out on PC, it was eroge. This cut all of that sort of content out, so it just made it like a fun. Sort of romantic adventure / RPG game, and they actually changed the gameplay to a tactical RPG. I believe it might have been like maybe a turn-based RPG on the PC. So there's so many elements of this that I should like. I guess it ended up on the floor here, but I went like all in on this. I got the strategy guide. This is the Japanese strategy guide, but it's I figured I was gonna make videos about this on YouTube, give people a lot of good information about it, and I just thought I was really going to dig into the game myself and enjoy it. And what ended up happening is I played it, and I got quite a ways into it. I probably played this for a good 4 or 5 hours. I actually did capture a lot of footage for it. I just don't like it. I don't like the gameplay is what it comes down to, and that is a bummer for me because it looks like a really cool game. It even got a sequel that came out on the PlayStation 3. The last time I was in Japan, there was a lot of advertising for this game, so it also it seemed like it was sort of a kind of a big deal. But they even made an anime out of it. I don't know. I don't like the gameplay for this. I just don't think that I'm ever going to get into that. If you guys have maybe played the second game, if the gameplay is any better, let me know. That one may also be just a game that I'll never play. Next up we have Touchy Love Application. Now this is a best of version, that doesn't matter. This is another compile art game developed by Tamsoft, and again, I feel like this links in a little bit with the particularly the side story Neptunia game, Producing Perfection, which I really liked. Producing Perfection was actually a lot of fun. It was essentially a romantic adventure game, despite being like ostensibly a idle simulation game to a certain extent. That's not really what it was. It was a romantic adventure game, and I really liked it. So I really wanted to like this. I don't dislike it. I just played it some, and it hasn't really hooked me. I don't think that the language barrier is too big of a problem. With this, I can muddle through a lot of stuff, and I understand mostly what's going on with this, but it hadn't really hooked me. So, again, if anyone has experience with this, if anyone really wants to know more about it, let me know. I may come back to this and give this just one more shot, because there's a part of me that just wants to like this desperately, and I'm really borderline dropping this game. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Oops. Next up is White Album, and this is a game that I loved. This is also developed by and published by Aqua Plus, and it's a remake of an old game, an old eroge. Again, they have most of that sort of content taken out of this. This is like one of those few it's a Zero D, so it's like 17 and up rated game, but I don't know. The content that I ran into it, I don't think was especially risque in particular, like maybe in terms of the dialogue to a certain extent, but maybe I just didn't, I don't know, get some of the scenes or something, I don't know. But I played through 3 of the routes on this. I played through like essentially the two main characters on the cover, and then one of the other characters. So if that says anything you know, to you guys, I really liked this. It was fun. I understood what was going on. It wasn't that hard to play. It was still though sort of like dynamic and interesting, and it just you know, I didn't play through it with a guide or anything. You can play it, and it's not 100% linear either. It's just a fun game if you like romantic adventure games. I thoroughly enjoyed this. So I feel like I've gotten my playtime out of that, and it's possible maybe I'll go through and play through some of the other routes. There's probably, I don't know, even 4 or 5 other routes that I haven't played. But I did get White Album 2, and I've never played this game. So I just feel like a big missed opportunity here for me to play a game that I will probably really enjoy. And I really wanted to see what they did as a follow-up, especially since that one was a remake, and then this is like a follow-up sequel so many years after they made the original game. So very interested to check this out. I have to sit down someday and put this one in and play some more of it, because I really want to play that. Next is Wangan Midnight. Now, I did a video on this. Again, it was still years ago. It feels a little more recent than those other videos, because it was. But this is a tough game because I like it, and I put quite a bit of time into it. But I feel like I've hit a little bit of a wall in this, because I feel like the gameplay is challenging. I don't know if the language barrier is getting in the way of that for me a little bit, but I feel like I have a pretty decent understanding of how the game works. It has some unique mechanics. It's a racing game based on a manga, and it has like some manga style cutscenes and like a lot of character dialogue and things in that. But it's a racing game, and it's a little bit of a simulation racing game. It's not a Gran Turismo style simulation. It's I don't know. It reminds me of the Tokyo Extreme Racer series, and it's actually developed by Genki, so that makes a lot of sense, I think. So I think there's a lot of good things to like about this. I guess my question to you guys would be, I don't know, do you think I should go back to this and try to play more of it? Do you think I should try to finish it? I mean, and it's not just like, yes, I think you should try to finish it, because that sounds fun. Like, I'm more just sort of like, have you guys played it, and do you think there's something worth me investing more of my time into this? Because I think I'm gonna put this one down, sort of officially. I've put it down for years now, but I don't know. Maybe I'll play some more of it. I haven't really decided. Next is Yamasa Digital Slot World Bounty Killer. I can't remember the name of this because this game is highly forgettable. This is something I got in Japan because it was cheap. And I was just like, what is the deal with these Pachi slot games? As far as I can tell, I still don't get it. I've said this before about this game. I guess I don't even really know why I still have this game, other than the fact that I would probably have a hard time selling it, and I don't know who else would want it. If you guys want to see a Pachi slot game, let me know. Maybe I'll play some more of it. And if you guys know what the appeal of playing Pachi slot, and if you guys wonder what that is, instead of playing poker, people play pachinko, which is, it's just a similar sort of gambling thing, but like it launches out these metal balls, and you just sort of control how strongly the metal balls keep getting launched, and then they fall down this pattern of pins, and you just try to like capture as many of the balls as you can, and you win more money technically. So they use Pachi slot to talk about, pretty much, as far as I can tell, just slot machines, because I think that helps them to kind of conceptualize what a slot machine is that it's sort of like a pachinko machine, but it has slot reels. So I think that's the whole reason why they're called Pachi slot. Could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But yeah, if you guys have any experience with Pachi slot games, and I know you really like them for some reason, and help me to understand what is interesting about them, because yeah, I should probably just, I don't know, throw that in the trash, maybe give it to a thrift store, I don't know. Next up we have Zillions of Enemy X. Again, this is in the wrapper. And, I almost feel like I shouldn't forgive myself for not having played some of these games that I got still. I think I got this one specifically because, Corn Muffin was talking about it, and it just seems super cool. I think it's like a card-based, battle. I don't even really remember. It was so long ago now that that he was talking about this. Zillions of Enemy X, I think, is based on an actual like physical card game that you can buy too. But anyway, this just seems super cool. I'd like to know more about this, so I just need to put this in and play it. Maybe this will be one of the ones that I prioritize for something to play a little more in the near future. So anyway, those are my Japanese PlayStation 3 games.